Your plant-based headlines for Thursday, May 11th. Doug, you're going to pull these up for us, I hope. Everyone's going to be thrilled to hear that Oatly is at it again. First of all, they're a Swedish company. I didn't know that. But Veg News tells us they're taking Big Dairy to task about that footprint with a new campaign. That footprint being the carbon footprint, which is earlier in the article from which I lifted this paragraph. They took out full-page ads, and they took these huge billboards in Times Square and Hollywood Boulevard that are basically calling out the dairy industry, challenging them to share their carbon footprints. And so the occasion for this is that Oatly has become the first product, period, or the first company in North America to display the climate impact of its products on its packaging. Did you know that about Oatly, Doug? We knew they had zany, wacky ads. I didn't know that they were pioneering with transparency here.
That's cool. I like that.
Yeah, I like that too. So then what they've got here is these two huge billboards next to each other. One has, in one place, they're like across the street from the other. In another, they're on a corner. And it says, "We bought two billboards to tell you we've begun including climate footprint numbers on our products." And then shows the Oatly carton and their climate footprint 0.62, whatever the units are. And then it says, "And we're donating this one to the dairy industry so they can tell you their climate footprint numbers too." And then it shows a milk container and a question mark and then a little QR code where I think it allows the dairy companies to actually respond to the challenge. And
yes, so would they, the question is, would they actually put up a billboard for a dairy company?
Right. That's what I'm wondering. Like, this doesn't make me cringe like their other stuff does. Mm-hmm. I'm just sick of them, to be honest. And their ads, I don't know what it is. I just don't like them. Maybe I don't like loudness. Maybe when it comes to spreading stuff, I don't know. It's okay. I guess it's better than just an ad saying our product is good. Buy it.
Yeah, I like it. I think it's fun. I think it's creative. I think it's like you said, we've had some Oatly ads that we have strongly disapproved of. But I think this is a good one for them to kind of demonstrate that they're being transparent around their climate footprint. It's not zero, right? I think that the motivation is that it's a lot better than the dairy industry, or at least that's what they're implying. And so now calling out the dairy industry to show their numbers, sure, why not? If you care about the climate, I think that's a good way to promote your product.
Maybe they're playing a long game here, and they really are hoping that dairy is going to respond in some way and that this conversation is going to keep going. But to me, like in the short timeline, it's just like I wish the other billboard said, "And now we're going to tell you dairy's numbers," and it shows the average dairy industry number, because it just seems like you're going to drive by this thing and we'll never hear from this again. I just don't think we're ever going to see the dairy number on this ad or next to it. I don't know. Maybe we will. Maybe they have more in mind, but I don't know. I just wish they would stop.
I don't know. What could Oatly put out a billboard that you were into?
Yeah, if they want to just said, if they put the dairy one on the other side, I would say that's a pretty good, impactful thing. You see a number, and then you turn the page or look around the corner, and now you've got a number that's 50 times bigger or something.
But then you would say, oh, but they're just cherry picking the worst offenders, right? Or I probably would say or something like that, or they're just they're looking at a study that was done by a plant-based slant, I don't know, that wasn't fair or something like that. I think that giving a brand an opportunity to come up with their own numbers, and throw those out there, sure. I think that's good. As Mr. Jeffrey says here, but I think the point is that this is trying to say that dairy isn't transparent, and that I think that's right. I agree with that. Mm-hmm. I like it. Okay. Good job, Oatly.
Well, I like the Oatly products. I don't boycott them or anything. They're sponsoring minor league baseball. I like that. But just enough with the ads. Come on. You're a company that makes oat milk. Just do that. We don't need this stuff. All right. On to the next one. Daily Mail tells us that Bear Grylls, our favorite guy recently, Doug, says he's embarrassed that he used to promote veganism. And he's now shunned vegetables completely in favor of red meat. We kind of knew that about him. We knew that he had done that. We didn't know he was embarrassed. We knew that he had acknowledged that he had a vegan book out before about juicing and fresh veggies and all this other stuff. But he's got some quotes here about it that I think are interesting. First of all, he says that his previous plant-based diet was such an unhealthy way to live. He says, I was vegan quite a few years ago. In fact, I wrote a vegan cookbook, and I feel a bit embarrassed because I really promoted that. I thought that was good for the environment, and I thought it was good for my health. And through time and experience and knowledge and study, I realized I was wrong on both counts. I was having salads every day. I would really crave junk food, and once or twice a week have cheat meals, a real blowout of whatever you want, burgers, pizzas, etc. He says, you're basically starving for 80% of the time, and then you're binging for the rest. That's not good for the body. I now find I'm always full when I'm eating so much meat and eggs and butter and fruit and honey. I'm never hungry. So there you go.
I mean, looking at this Instagram post or Twitter tweet that he put out, I mean, you're not going to be hungry after eating that. That's for sure.
No.
You can count on not being hungry. You might be starving for nutrients, but
I mean, I don't know. I don't know how you would feel good on that. I really don't. Like, I'm trying not to be biased here. It just, I can't imagine eating a plate of that and like for the next 3 hours feeling at all okay.
Right.
And the interesting thing to me is, like, I think he must know this, right? Because he's been on this side of it as well.
Yeah, right.
And so I don't think, I don't know. I mean, it's hard for me to imagine. Maybe he's just not a genuine person, or maybe he just like gets so into whatever he's into that he forgets what it used to be. But that's the confusing part for me. Like, I feel like he at least has my respect for having been on the other side, and now he can say this is way better. That's fine. Much better than someone who's never tried our version,
sure,
and saying, hey, I feel so good eating all this stuff. Look at all this meat and sausage and brains and whatever else I'm eating. But he actually has that experience on the other side. So I don't know what to make of it. I'm stumped.
Yeah. I mean, like, to say that you're embarrassed for promoting it and writing a book for it. I mean, like, you believed it at the time, and I mean, there's just no way you can, like, I don't know. It's surprising to me. It's a little bit troubling in some ways of like, I think that when someone leaves the vegan diet, and probably leaves any diet or anything that they've been passionate about or kind of promoted in the past, they feel this need to go to the other extreme, right? Mm-hmm. And bash whatever.
Like, I don't know if it's anybody. It's anybody who makes their livelihood and business about going to one extreme, right? Then when they stop that one, they have to go to the other extreme.
They have to go to the other extreme, and then they have to like justify that big switch in so that people can somehow understand or something why they did the switch, right? I feel so much better, and I was starving 80% of the time, and all that stuff. Like, maybe you were just doing it wrong. Maybe you were just like not really following a very healthy plant-based diet, and or too healthy of a plant-based diet, to where you were you were actually hungry all the time. But that doesn't mean that it's not for everyone, and that doesn't mean that you should be embarrassed by it. Like, own your experiences. I don't know. Yeah, I'm with you. It's just there's a lot going on that is not exemplary, I guess, or it should not be how people unfortunately take their cues for how they should then eat and how they should, right? Because eat, like we said, or like you said, either side that he went on, he probably did it in a very extreme way, because his book was about whatever, raw and juicing and all that. It wasn't just like eat a balanced vegan diet and make sure you include lots of beans and grains and all. It was just like, go all the way raw, whatever. I don't know actually know what it was, but I just think the book was like about juicing and stuff. So yeah, very possible that's just not the best way to do it. And I just tend to think about this way about everything. Like, any diet that's kind of extreme, like that's really far out there, far from the way we probably evolved to eat. And I would say his most recent one is as well. I don't really know how you could pretend that like this is actually the way people always ate all the time with all the organ meats and everything. It just seems far-fetched. But yeah, I just think like once you stray too far, and even vegan diet, like I get like like I said before, I think last week, like it comes with, to me, an obligation to take some supplements to make it a little closer to a natural thing, so that you get some more omega-3s in there, perhaps, or certainly you get B12. Like, you need to do some stuff. You can't just eat this diet that's not one that a lot of populations have eaten for a long period of time. You got to do some stuff. And so
I just think the more extreme your diet is, the less likely it's going to work. And it's just, it appears he's going from one extreme to another. And you know what? No wonder you feel better when you make the switch, because when you go to one of these extreme diets, you're going to develop some kind of deficiencies or whatever. And then you go back the other way and you suddenly fill all those, voids that were there before, and you feel great for a while. And then a few years later, there's going to be some other deficiencies or problems to come, and then you'll switch again to somewhere else, and then you'll feel great when you switch. And I think that's just what happens.
Yeah, and my guess is that he will come out of this in a couple of years and fall somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, if he makes it a couple of years. This is like asking for a heart attack.
I mean, the dude has survived on like drinking his own urine and doing all kinds of other weird stuff. So, maybe.
Yeah, well, he's a survivor, so maybe he will keep surviving. He does now start every workout with 25 pull-ups, 50 press-ups, 75 squats, and 100 sit-ups in one go, which he says he could never do that before. That sounds really hard. It's really not that hard to do that. It's like a common CrossFit.
For yourself, 25 pull-ups. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I mean, it takes I don't know, you have to rest a little bit. Maybe he does them all in one thing without a single break. But that was a CrossFit workout that I did on my running thing when I was doing the running CrossFit thing. I forget what that was called. The name of it, but anyway, it was hard, and it was that was the workout itself. That wasn't the warm up for every single workout. But I just don't believe that he could never do that before. It's wrong. Or
that eating that steak and stuff and burger is what is causing him to be able to do that. Like it can't be nutritional.
No, unless he would say it has built a lot of muscle with that diet, and now because of that muscle, he can do this stuff. But I'm just not buying that. And of course, we got to say here that he's selling organ or whatever they're blood, bone marrow supplements. He's selling that as well, and that accompanies these organs and whatever else food. So he's got a brand now to promote and fit this story. So just like we do with ours, not pretending that we don't have our own line of supplements. But yeah, I don't know. I find it interesting. You know what? The Daily Mail with the article. I think that they're kind of like anti-vegan usually, right?
Yes.
That's correct. This article is entirely fair, and their headline has that sensational thing. It says Bear Grylls says he's embarrassed that he ever promoted veganism and now shuns veggies completely in favor of red meat. But then the article actually is about they quote Bear Grylls, and then they have some nutritionist expert point out policies in what he's saying when it comes to the environment, when it comes to your health, and then they show this chart of a well-rounded plate, which they've used before that we've seen. It's actually a fair article. That's kind of it almost takes the plant-based side, but it's not that far from just sort of neutral, showing goods and bads about each side.
Well, that's good.
So I was impressed with that. Yeah. All right, and finally, last one, Italy, my favorite country. I don't know if it's my favorite country, but I like eating their food. Italy's agriculture minister Francesco Lollobrigida told Reuters that lab-grown food is potentially dangerous for human health, calling it a slush, in quotes. I don't know if he knows the word slush, but maybe they translated it to English or Italian into that. That would never taste like natural meat or fish. There's more here, but when you read that, it's who makes a claim like that? It would never taste like natural meat or fish. He probably hasn't tasted the lab-grown food.
Right.
I'm not saying he doesn't know something about the process. Maybe he knows a ton about the biochemistry and really believes it is impossible to make this taste like natural meat or fish. But we've seen a bunch of people taste test it and then go say it was really good. So just the evidence seems to point that it will taste like natural meat or fish. I'm not saying it's going to be the same as their protected products and all these things. But that just sounds like, I don't know how old this person is. It just sounds like the old guard being afraid of the change and just proclaiming that it can never be the same as this old way, just because.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like someone who hasn't tried it, one, who has a strong bias, two, and three is not open-minded enough to even give it a go.
Yeah, right. The closed-mindedness is definitely.
I just Googled his name. And the first headline that comes up is, quote, I'm not racist, which, if that's the
Right.
that's the headline that comes up, then there's usually
Yeah.
there's something happening here.
Right.
He doesn't look that old. I mean, he looks like he's in his 50s or 60s.
Who knows? Maybe he's got that Italian longevity and he's actually like 100 and he just
Maybe. Could be.
Anyway, the government has argued, of course, that cell-based products have not proven to be safe, and they approved a bill to ban the production and sale of synthetic foods in Italy last month. We talked about that, or 2 months ago when we talked about that. Then the ban still needs to pass Parliament. Doug, you as our lawmaker extraordinaire, do you know how the EU politics work? Like, is that Parliament the European Union Parliament that an Italian law needs to pass because they're part of the union, or is there an Italian Parliament that it's
There's definitely an Italian Parliament. Every country still has their own.
It's always a Parliament? I just thought Parliament was like a British thing and then an EU thing.
No, it's just a different way to structure your government.
Okay.
Than us.
Okay, good. So their ban still needs to pass that Parliament, and of course, as we know, aims to protect their country's culture and food heritage, and I would say their tourism interests and their exporting interests, of course, from technological innovations. So that's the heart of the issue, right? Is it good to protect cultures and heritages from technological innovations? When do we yield in the face of technology, and when do we say this is too much? It's not good. They said we reject the idea of standardizing products, making them all the same in laboratories, erasing our culture tied to the land. And then the last thing here is he plans to also create a rating system to distinguish Italian restaurants worldwide that use genuine Italian ingredients from those that don't. See, that I like. I like a nice thing that would recognize that certain ones are upholding the heritage and culture.
Like the great Made in America designation or something like that. I mean, that stuff is great. And I think that protecting, I have no problem with protecting a farming technique or a farming philosophy or whatever, no problem with that, as long as you're allowing for innovation in other ways. Like you can say this is raised a certain way, this produce or cattle or whatever is raised a certain way, and we're going to protect that and have a designation around that. But then if you want to go off and lab grow your meat another other way, then go for it. But we're going to protect this and we're going to label that. I have no problem with that.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. So there we go. Yeah, for me, as much as I like Italian food, I can't wait till the cultivated meat allows me to make bolognese sauce with cultivated real meat without harming animals. I'll be excited for that.
In the meantime, I'm telling you, pretty good with the Beyond Meat.
I've had it before and it's not. It just isn't. I've done it. I was hopeful.
I mean, it was just so satisfying. Honestly, it was such a satisfying meal.
When I did it, it took all day long to simmer the sauce. It was a serious sauce recipe, and it just tasted like Beyond Meat to me. It just tasted like whatever that taste is. I never realized Beyond Meat had a very specific taste, but it does. That like fatty mouthfeel they create that sort of seems, when you're eating one, seems like a real burger. It was all I could taste. I just didn't like it. So since then, I've used their Italian sausages, which of course is not what the recipes usually call for, but I think that does a better job, in my opinion. But just my opinion. You obviously loved yours. Katie, I hope, loved it.
She did.
But yeah, wouldn't recommend it.